So you've been told that in order to get the best look out of your camera, you have to be shooting in log. Well, when you go into your menu settings, you realize you don't have it. Don't worry, that's okay. Because in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 best custom picture profile settings that you could be using on your camera today. Let's get started. Welcome everyone, my name is Cody Scott, and if you're new to this channel, please feel free to consider hitting that like, comment, or subscribe button because it does help grow the reach of this channel. So you're trying to get a more cinematic, more professional looking image straight out of the camera because your camera either doesn't have log or you just don't feel comfortable enough using it yet. And that's okay, because in order to get the best image out of your camera, you don't have to be shooting in log. If you dial in your exposure, your composition, and your lighting, you might even be able to get a better image than some people using log who are not practicing best cinematography principles. But that is not why we are here. Today, I'm going to share with you the 3 best custom picture profiles that you could be using in your camera. Now, the mirrorless camera that I use is the Canon R6, and the picture profiles that I'm going to share with you today can work in any Canon camera. Now, before I share those 3 custom picture profile settings with you, I want to share with you something very special. The picture profiles that I'm going to share with you, I've actually developed myself over the last 3 years. And these picture profile settings were born out of the necessity to keep up with the wedding workflow. Now, the more weddings and projects that you take on, the less time you're going to have in post-production if you're still a one-man band shooting with your camera and having to edit all of the footage yourself. Because I take on so many weddings every single year, no longer does my team have enough time to do all of the color grading, as in-depth as you guys know I like to go. So what was the solution? Well, the solution was to try to get a cinematic looking image straight out of the camera so that you don't have to do as much, if any, post-production color grading once you get into the post-production stage of editing your films. So I dedicated years of my life trying to figure out how to maximize highlight roll-off, how to nail exposure, how to preserve skin tones, all while getting a remarkably cinematic look straight out of camera. And I'm proud to say I've been able to accomplish that. And I know it's going to help change the lives and at least your workflow of some of the people watching this video. So now that you know a little bit about why I developed these custom picture profiles, it's also important to note that as of the making of this video, I'm the only one in the world that has these picture profiles. So this isn't something that you can get anywhere else. Now, in order to pick up these picture profiles, you will have to make a small investment, but don't worry, I'm going to give you a coupon code in just a second. However, if you don't want to spend any money, don't worry, because I'm going to give you an alternative suggestion as well. That's a total of 4 picture profiles by the end of this video. Now, here are the different ways to pick up these custom picture profiles. The first way is to click the link in the description, which will take you to my online store. In my online store, you can find the custom picture profiles. Go ahead and click on those picture profiles, type in the coupon code INSPIRE, and that will save you 50% off when you purchase these picture profiles. Now think of it this way, because at this point, if you're like, oh great, I have to spend money, consider this. You can spend more time in post-production doing some color grading to make your footage look awesome, or you can get the look straight out of camera. What's more important to you? The time you spend in post-production or the time you spend with your family? Because for me, I know I can spend more time with my family now because I don't have to color grade as much because of these picture profiles. And one of the benefits of doing this is I can also deliver a wedding trailer the day after the film has been shot because I don't have to do extensive color grading. I can deliver a trailer right away, which means the very first video that hits the internet is a video I created from their wedding. And by doing this, you actually get way more bookings and way more brides because they can see the quality of your work the day after when things are fresh. So you will get your return on investment if you are nervous about spending that much money. Now, I do have them priced high because I spent years developing them and they are solving a pretty big problem. However, I do want things to be more manageable for you guys, so use the discount code INSPIRE to download these picture profiles. Now we're going to talk about another picture profile in just a second if you don't want to spend any money, and it will get you a pretty good look straight out of camera. However, you will have to do some additional color grading in post-production. Now, if you pick up these picture profiles today, I'm even going to throw in my Infinity LUTs as well as my custom Ansel Adams exposure guide, all of which you can pick up on my online store by clicking the link in the description. Now, if you just downloaded the picture profiles, your next step is to download, if you don't already have it, the EOS utility. So go to the Canon website, find your camera, navigate down to the firmware and download section, and then download the EOS utility. The next step is to connect your camera to your computer, open the EOS utility, click on picture profiles, go to your custom picture profiles, and then import the Cinema Prime, the Cinema Pro, and the Cinema Elite picture profiles to your camera. You can then close everything down, turn your camera off, and then turn it back on. And when you navigate to your picture profiles now, you will see the title Cinema Prime, Cinema Pro, and Cinema Elite. These are the 3 picture profiles that you can use to get a more cinematic, beautiful looking image straight out of camera. Here's a really quick example of what these picture profiles look like right now. This is the Cinema Prime picture profile. How does it look? This is the Cinema Pro picture profile. How does it look? This is the Cinema Elite picture profile. How does it look? Now, what are the differences between the 3? Cinema Prime is designed to get everything you need straight out of camera, your contrast and your colors all straight out of camera. The Cinema Prime picture profile won't need any additional tweaking in post-production. This is the one where you can just shoot and deliver. Now, this one I only use when I'm in a pinch for something quick for social media. The one I use the most is Cinema Elite, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Cinema Pro. The Cinema Pro picture profile is designed for anyone shooting commercial work, which I don't necessarily recommend doing with the Canon R6, but if you do find yourself shooting with the Canon R6 for commercial work, the Cinema Pro picture profile will be the one that you might want to use because it does strip out all of those nasty yellow tones that commercial projects don't want. They want clean, white, beautiful looking images. And the Cinema Pro is designed to give you that nice, clean look. All you'll need to do is dial in your contrast in post-production, which is pretty quick and easy, and you're done. Now, the Cinema Elite picture profile is my personal favorite, and it's the one that I actually use on all of my weddings. This picture profile preserves your skin tones, reduces the exposure of the blue tones in your image so your skies can be at normal exposure when you're shooting outside, and then it has a nice soft highlight roll-off curve built in to the picture profile, and so do all the other picture profiles as well. The Cinema Elite picture profile does have a lower contrast, so when you bring it in to do some editing and post-production, you'll have to add some contrast, and if you didn't nail your white balance in camera, then you might have to dial in your white balance a bit. Now, if you do pick up these picture profiles, you can use the same discount code INSPIRE to purchase the Infinity LUTs as well as my exposure guide. The exposure guide will help you better understand where you should be placing your information when you expose. But the best rule of thumb is to just expose for your highlights. Don't worry about clipping your shadows. Expose for your highlights and you'll be fine. There's no need to expose to the right with these picture profiles, and your ISO should be as low as possible. Often, I keep my ISO at 100, my aperture at 2.8, and I double my shutter speed. Now, in the event that you have to bump up your ISO because it's getting dark, these picture profiles were designed to maintain their performance at higher ISOs. You can bring your ISO up from 100 to 800. You have to skip 1250 because they don't perform there, and then bring it up to 1600. Anything past 1600, you'll be okay, Anything lower than 1000, you'll be okay, but do not use 1250 because the image will fall apart. I recommend that you do not change any of the settings in the picture profiles themselves. This could result in losing some quality from your image. So as long as you're exposing correctly for your highlights and you're checking your white balance using your Kelvin feature or an expo disc, which is what I use to nail my white balance, all you'll need to do is shoot straight out of camera, drag on a LUT, and you're done. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're a professional colorist and you just told us to use a LUT. And the answer is yes, because there are just so many weddings coming in now that I don't have time to build a 15 node tree in DaVinci Resolve and make it look remarkably epic. I just try to get it straight out of camera, and I can do that now with the Cinema Elite picture profile, the Cinema Pro picture profile, or the Cinema Prime picture profile. Now, if you don't want to purchase any of those, there's an alternative, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we get there, I want you to better understand what these picture profiles are actually doing inside of the camera. You see, when you shoot straight out of camera, there's a curve that's being applied in your camera. That curve is responsible for contrast. As you flip through the different pre-built-in picture profiles that Canon offers, like neutral, faithful, monochrome, and standard, you'll see the difference in contrast change. And contrast will look like a flatter image or a really crisp, punchy image. My custom picture profiles were designed to maximize the dynamic range that you can get out of your camera without compromising the quality of the image. So, built into these picture profiles, there is a highlight roll-off curve which brings down the highlights of the entire image, and this will preserve the highlight detail. That's one of the benefits you get from shooting in log. But if you don't want to shoot in log, you don't have to anymore, because in camera, we're getting a nice highlight roll-off. The next thing that these picture profiles do across the board is shift the hues to look more cinematic. The difference between all of the picture profiles is the amount those hues are shifted and the amount of saturation that is shifted within the picture profiles. One of the most important things to note when using these picture profiles is how the skin remains preserved while shooting straight out of camera and still getting a cinematic image. And that was carefully planned and tested. So by using these picture profiles, you can get a cinematic image without impacting the color of your skin. Now, there are several other things happening, but something else happening is really cool that I think is really cool is the luminance levels that are being decreased in the blue tones of the image. Now, naturally, when you shoot outside, your sky will be the thing that is overexposed the most. And your sky is naturally blue, and so are the blue tones that fall on buildings during really bright days. So what I've done is built in a decrease in luminance levels of all the blue tones and then slightly desaturate those blue tones so you can still get that teal and orange look, but without compromising the color clarity of the sky. And when you use these picture profiles, you can get that nice, beautiful, luxury looking look straight out of camera that's often desired by wedding videographers. It takes a lot of finesse to get it there, but with these picture profiles, you can get them straight out of camera. If you want to pick those up, you can use the coupon code INSPIRE to get the LUTs, the picture profile, and the exposure guide, 50% off. Now, let's move on to the alternative. Now, when I first started my career, I was using the standard picture profile, and I would adjust to the following settings: 0, -1, +1, +1. This will give you a clean and usable image. So again, that's the standard picture profile, adjusting your sharpness all the way down to 0, your contrast to -1, your saturation to +1, and then your hue tone all the way to +1. And I think you'll be quite pleased with that image. Now, if you don't want to spend any money, just use the standard picture profile and adjust your settings to 0, -1, +1, +1. Everything that you will need or be curious about will be linked in the description. And if you found this video helpful at all, subscribe, please, because it does help grow the reach of this channel. And the bigger this channel gets, the more people that we can reach. And the more people that we can reach, the bigger the impact we can have on the world. And I feel like I'm a pretty positive guy, so I think it would be a pretty positive impact with you guys here. Anyway, that is all for me. I hope you found this video helpful. And until next time, stay motivated, and I'll see you in the next one. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever as it... Oh, I got off.